Welcome to the Total Boss Podcast, and I'm your host, Cristiano Green, a podcast where we talk about finding fulfillment through self-development, being a leader of your own life, and getting the most out of it as well. Tenacity, originality, talent, authenticity, and being legendary. It's all about living your best life. Welcome to the show today. I'm super excited about my special guest today, Ron Fisher, a man who I've known for a couple of months, and we've gotten to know really intimately because he's one of my one-on-one VIP clients in my coaching business. So I'm super excited to have Ron here. He's got a really interesting and unique story, but I think it's one that people can find a lot of relevancy in. So, Ron is 69 years old. He's lived, I guess, a mixture of straight and gay life for most of his years, married with children, but came out at 63 and has been doing hair for over 50 years. So he's had this real mix of gay and straight. So it's really interesting to jump into getting to know more about the real Ron Fisher. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Cristiano. And thank you for that nice introduction. And that's me. And I look forward to this too. I don't know where it's going to go, but who knows?
Awesome. Well, like I said, it's just going to be a bit of Q&A, so we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
So, Ron, I thought I'd maybe start with figuring out, because obviously you said you came out at 63, but you knew at an early age that you were gay. So talk to me a little bit about when you knew and why it was difficult for you to maybe go down that path then, and how it took you a little bit of time to realize it was time for you to come out.
Well, I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta, which is a very conservative town. I was born in 1952. So my younger years, my teen years, started in the 60s. And it was not like I knew no one that was gay, right? And myself, if I look back now, I knew I was gay since I was like 6 years old. I didn't realize it till I hit my beginning teens for sure, because, well, it became obvious to me. And so, but I wanted to be normal like everybody else. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. I grew up, I can't say, well, conservative, but open kind of family. I think I would have, if I'd have come out then, now I look back on it, I probably would have been accepted better than I realized, but it was a difficult time.
Yeah.
It was not like now. It was not like that. I mean, the first Pride Parade wasn't until the 70s, right? And so it was something that it was more hidden. It was more, and I wanted to be like everybody else. And the next thing you knew, I was dating a woman, and we got married and had 1 daughter. And since then I have 5 grandchildren, and it kind of, life just, I made a commitment and it went that way. And I was in that relationship. I lived with her 2 years and was married for 43. So it was a total of 45 years before and the reason I think that it takes so long for a lot of us to come out is I had another life, and I wasn't willing to jeopardize like raising my daughter. And I mean, I had things to do. I was building a business, and I thought of coming out in my 40s. And I'm 5 years younger than my wife was, but she got breast cancer, and I didn't feel that was a good time. And it just sort of, the next thing you know, I'm in my 50s, and I just figure I'm too old. It took me a few years to realize I'm not.
Never too late, is it, Rock and Ronnie? So when it comes to obviously, like you said, you met a girl. Was that kind of like the first time you've been with a girl? Before that, had you ever been with men prior, or was it that you knew you were gay and you just never explored that side of yourself really?
Okay, so I'm talking about when I was, up until 18 years old. And most of my experiences were with boys. I wouldn't call them men. Boy. And it was not, it was playing, right? it wasn't really, it was sex, but it was not, if you know what I mean.
Totally.
And so the only woman I've ever been with was my wife. It's the only woman. So
go on.
No, so I mean, I knew, but I didn't realize until I came out. You see, you have to understand something. I'm kind of committed person, and I made a commitment. So there was no way I could have a relationship outside my marriage with a man, even though I would have wanted to, because that wasn't right.
Yeah.
And I would just feel absolute guilt. Like it just wasn't. And so by the time I finally came out and had that experience, prior to that, I thought that it was just sex, which didn't really matter.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my goodness, wow. Like I only can connect like that.
If only you could connect like that.
And, you know, I really feel badly for my wife, because as good of a husband as I thought I was, I never gave myself to her the way I can give myself to another man now. But I didn't know that.
And what do you put that down to? Because I also know that you are demisexual. So maybe initially for the audience, do you want to explain what demisexual means to you? And then did that play a part in that, if you were to look back on it with your wife?
Oh, yes. I'm quite involved in a community where we talk. I'm part of a demisexual group. There's only about 12 of us, because it's a term I did not know until about maybe 4 months ago. And when it was explained to me, I realized that I'm demisexual, which means that I need some sort of an emotional connection, or like to just hook up doesn't work for me. I don't enjoy it. It's not something I crave. And, you know, it's really interesting. I think I always was demisexual. I think that I was always this was me. I was sensitive, very empathetic, I was not interested in what other boys were interested in at all. I didn't like sports. And at 13, I was the height I am now, which is 6'4". So every time someone met me, they'd say, "Oh my God, your son must be a football player or a basketball player." My mother would say, "No, he likes doing hair." Oh goodness, like it just like, and I used to just cringe. It even took me time to accept being a hairstylist. My father didn't really like it until I owned my own salon, and then he could call me a businessman. A hairdresser, not so much. And so I had basically shame around those things, right? I always felt like I had to hide or prove myself, or, you know, guys, you get it together and they all want to talk about sports. When I first met my wife and we went to visit her family, the women were all upstairs, the men were all downstairs watching sports, and I went, forget it, and I went upstairs.
You went upstairs.
That's wrong. And so being a hairstylist helped, because you're kind of, you know what I mean? So, but it was not easy, but I was building a business. I had a daughter who I love. She's just the most amazing woman. And I had a life, and I was happy there. And like I said, I thought it was just sex. I was giving up. I didn't realize that I gave up I gave up a big part of myself, but I wasn't ready to own it until I was 63.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, you know what the gay community can be like. And so it's not like I didn't have gay friends. I'm a hairstylist. It's not like I didn't know about that part. But I also knew it can be a little judgy. You feel like I'm on some calls with some younger guys with this group, and one guy, 32 years old, handsome man. He's going, "Oh my goodness, I was out on Tuesday night. My hair wasn't right, and I didn't have the right clothes on. I was at a club, and I just felt like everybody was looking at me." And and he's going on like that. So then it's my turn to talk, and I said, "If I only looked like you, like if I was only 32 years old now, are you kidding me?" But it's all relative. it's all, it's where you're at. And I'm sorry.
No, so totally. Yeah. Go ahead.
And so I had to work on my mindset. I had to feel of value. I had to feel sexy. I had to feel that I had to offer something that even at my age would be attractive in the community. And it made a huge difference. And I had been on a personal growth journey for some years because I was involved in a second business that, well, it's network marketing. So of course, all of it, so much of it is personal growth, building up, because if you want to be a leader, you have to become one. You're not one. It's like not magic, poof, it takes work. And over time, it gave me the courage to come out. It was how I identified that I buried that side of me. And it took a while for me to embrace it and to move forward and then to do the work. And it was awesome. I look back on it now and I'm so thrilled that happened and I did it. But at the time it was a difficult time too.
Yeah.
Looking back, it doesn't look as difficult as during the time I was there. Funny how we forget that part, or at least that's my personality.
Yeah, I think when you move past some of the pain and you actually get into the pride part of yourself, you do look at some of those things as part of the journey. So you take away the power of the pain, but then you look at it and go, well, that was what built me up to be the rock and running that I am today, right?
Exactly. 100%. And really it's the journey anyway. There's no final destination. I believe that personal growth is always, I have my mom will be 90 in September and she's a real with it, young-minded, young looking. And I see that in her. We have wonderful conversations. And actually, since I came out and myself, we have way better relationship than we had before. I mean, we always had a good relationship, but now it's like we're really close and we can have those conversations about life and growth and change. And, I question her belief system from when she was younger, and she looks at it and makes adjustments. And yeah, it's great.
Sounds like you've got a beautiful relationship with your mom, and I know that you cherish that time that you have with her, right?
I not only have a good relationship with mom, but she's one of my teachers. Right? I think that in life, she's older than I am. She's lived a life and she's open and she's willing to do personal growth things too. So I can learn a lot from her in the fact that she's that age and she's still changing, growing, and analyzing her life and looking at things. Right? It never stops.
Never stops, right?
And I think that's what keeps you young, personally.
Yeah. Okay. And so obviously you've had a close relationship and it's gotten closer since you come out. Obviously 63 years old, you've had all, you said to yourself that, you always were more drawn to the ladies. Have you had points of your life where people have, suspected you were gay, or you had conversations and asked you? And then what happened in those moments? Your wife, you were married for 43 years. You've got your daughter, you've got your mother, you've got your hair business, which is probably dominantly women, right? Where's the conversation ever been? Or has it just been that's running?
Okay. Number one, my wife always knew that before her, I only had experience with her. She knew that I was interested in men, but she chose, or she thought I picked her. She saved me. She told one of my relatives, I find out now, she saved me. Yeah. So, that was a horrible fear. That was I could throw up. If I ever thought, if I did something inappropriate, or someone might think something that might guess that I'm gay or whatever, I just it was horrific. I was just oh my God. I ended up in my 40s. I couldn't go to the dentist. I didn't like flying. I couldn't go I suffered from such anxiety And as I chipped away at my belief system, as I found that little gay boy, as I embraced him, as I brought him into my life and became whole, all that anxiety went away. Interestingly enough. When I finally came out, most people were surprised. Here I thought I had a big secret.
Yeah.
I mean, I had one client that said, "Oh, I always thought you and Sherry had an arrangement." Even my daughter, I can remember we were in the kitchen. It was just in December, was before Christmas. It was the last Christmas we were together. And I knew that she was moving with her husband and two of our grandchildren, three of our grandchildren to England. And I wanted to have Christmas, one more Christmas before I finally told my wife. So I decided in January of 2016, I tell her. So anyways, I tell Samantha and I are talking, and I said, well, I have something to tell you, but I have to tell your mom first. And she looks at me and she goes, Dad, are you coming out? Wow. And I'm just like this. And so we've since talked, and she said, Dad, I always knew you were gay, but you were always with Mom. And she said, we didn't have the best family, but we had better than most. And so that was her. My family has been phenomenal through all this. I've been very blessed. I don't have any negative stories, or not really. And the few people that weren't there for me or didn't accept me, I didn't even notice them.
Yeah.
I was at a place in my life where if somebody doesn't accept me, I don't want them in my life, right? Like, I'd done the personal growth. I felt good about myself. That's why it was easier for me to come out at 63 than I think a lot of people, guys at 20 or 19, because you're more vulnerable. You don't know yourself the same way.
Yeah.
Right. And all that negativity that can be around. But something happened to me. I'm seeing somebody right now, and it was interesting. So I went to Hawaii right away, like in May. One of my clients was getting married, and they paid for me to go over there. And it was really interesting because we had a timeshare. We used to go to Mexico all the time, and Sherry and I would be in the pool, not inappropriate, but, we'd be in the pool together, holding each other, or maybe kissing each other, or we'd go shopping, and I'd say, see you, hon, give her a little kiss and walk away, or whatever. And I'm thinking, there is no way I would do that with another man, because I'd be terrified that someone would react negatively, and I don't want to be in the center of making someone feel uncomfortable. I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt. Why? So it's very hot in Victoria right now. As a matter of fact, we broke a record by 10 degrees.
Wow.
That we've never before. So I live on the gorge, and I went swimming. And so I go down swimming, and my friend was staying with me. And so I'm out there swimming, and I'm swimming back, and he comes into the water, and he starts swimming towards me. And he swims up to me and gives me a kiss. And I mean, not just a kiss, right? And I felt totally comfortable. The two of us played. We had so much fun in the water, and I just forgot. But it's taken me 5 years to get to that place. It's still a journey for me to accept me for me, myself. I find the judgment that you have is inside. And so, some people judge you, but fewer people, particularly where I live, judge you. The worst judge is me. And that's what kept me where I was for as long as I was. And one of the reasons, Cristiano, that I decided you were my coach was I wanted a coach, because I knew there were things that I needed to still get over with being gay, which is, I like the fact that we have that in common, but also that you're younger, right? I want to be all that I can be. And I know that we all need a little help. We are foolish to think we can do by ourselves. I think that combined energy, that you don't see things the way other people see things, and you gain little nuggets. It's just the best. And I think it was one of the smartest things I've ever done. But seldom do we invest in ourselves.
Mm.
We'll spend money on so many other things but ourselves.
Yeah.
And you're wrong. You need to invest in yourself.
100% agree. And I'm all for coaching. Obviously, that's why I got into this field. But, you know, every good coach has a good coach behind him, right? So it's also about knowing that you practice what you preach. If you believe in the field that you're working on, you know that you need what you also preach. And, you know, you also see in your clients, as much as you're there to guide and coach and teach, they also become some of your teachers, because your clients are a projection of you and where you're at. So certain things will pop up that you go, oh, wow, like that's something that I'm learning as well as I'm teaching it. Because the more we talk, the more we teach, the more we share, the more it integrates into our body as well. So it's interesting when you go on a journey such as this, that your clients think that, you know, you're there for them, which you so are, and you give all you can, but you also learn so much, which is the beautiful part of this kind of career.
Well, I mean, it's a well-known fact. If you want to learn something well, teach it.
Yeah.
Right? Totally. I mean, because you then, anyways, that's what I found in my life. The things that I've, you know, like hairstyling and different things. It's all about that. But yeah, so the last 5.5 years have been, I mean, there's been ups and downs. I mean, the pandemic, it was a struggle for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, so that has, but I've come out the other side. I had a lot of personal growth then. I really believe that when you're going through adversity, dig deep. You can always come out of it with some sort of a lesson.
Yeah.
And you don't give in. It's sometimes not easy, but you don't give in. Because things happen, right? Like I am not a spring chicken, as my mother would say. And, you know, I physically, you know, I had a hip replacement three months ago, which,
yeah,
how did that happen? Right? Like stuff like that. But life is worth it.
It certainly is worth it, right?
And like and it's great too. Like I am really, I mean, this relationship that I'm in now, I met him 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 2 years ago. And we've broken up 3 times. But I believe that, how can I explain this? It makes sense. But what I've noticed is, so he came from a similar situation that I was in. He was married for 36 years. He's 10 years younger than me. And you need to grow, you need to change. Like once you deal with the fact that, yes, I'm gay. Now, he was not like me. Like a lot of gay guys that I meet become out older, buried all that. I knew. It was obvious to me when I was younger. I knew. I made a choice the way I made, but he didn't. So it takes time for the layers of the onion peel to come off, or whatever you want to call it, to find out who he is. And so I had to learn some things too. And there were times when we weren't at the same place at the right time, or the same growth. It's always different. And actually we got together again about 6 weeks ago, and he said to me, wow, he said, I just noticed so much personal growth in you. Well, you don't notice it in yourself, right? You're living it. And I notice it in him. He's a totally different person in some ways than I remember back in November, right? When we broke up. I mean, the two of us, there's always been a strong attraction between us, but we had to learn about ourselves, and that takes time. You can't be with someone else until you work a bunch of stuff out for yourself. So we'll see. It's fun. It's nice.
It's nice in the right direction. And the fact is that, you know, there's always a second option. There's always a third chance. If you believe in that person and you feel that connection to be true, you don't want to give up on it just because of what happened in the past. Because as you know, for your own journey, you know, 6, 7, 8 months later, look at the growth that you've had. And again, it sometimes takes someone else coming back into your life for you to realize how far you've actually come.
Yes, absolutely. And the other thing is that I've noticed I'm in a real growth and a real inward looking at myself, looking at other people. And I'm not just gays, straights, people. we're socialized and brought up to believe certain things. That doesn't mean we believe in those things. That means we were taught those things. And I think so often, I had to look back and go, that works for me. That doesn't. That is not my belief. That is not how I feel. And yet, that was the way I was taught. And we all have that. And when you look at men and women, men are raised to be strong and not show emotion. And I was never that man, ever. So that, guess what? I didn't feel like a man because I couldn't fit in that mold. Well, garbage. Like, I think all of us have a little bit of each. And the thing that's unique about me, I think, is I'm emotionally available.
Yes.
I go forward with an open heart, which is not common. I actually had,
Especially in the gay community, yeah.
I stopped the crowd in the Zoom call up having that conversation and saying that I felt that there was so much hurt and so much damage in a way, and it caused a lack of trust, and you didn't want to put yourself out there, and yet you crave a relationship, but you're not open to have one, and yet you think you want one, and you're progressing, but you personally are putting up roadblocks constantly. And then I come along like Pollyanna and think, oh my God, well, this is my philosophy. I believe the heart is a muscle and it's meant to be used, and you will be hurt. Chances are you will. But that's better than never using it. So that's part of my philosophy. And I think what I really now, at my heart of hearts, is I want people to know it's never too late to be authentic, whatever that means. To find yourself, to love yourself, to believe in yourself. You don't have to be put in a box. You don't have to say, I'm over 60, it's too late. Good Lord, my mom's going to be 90 and she's still doing it. You know, it's an attitude, and we only have control over attitude. We don't have control over how things work out or what happens in our life necessarily. We only have control over how we react to it, right?
Exactly. The options to respond or react, right? Choosing one or allowing that person's emotional volatility to then make you choose something that's not really who you are in your heart, right?
Yeah. And through your coaching, through working with you, I've realized something because I've really dug down deep. As you know, we started coaching right after I had the surgery. So I won't be going back to work till next week. So I've had 3 months to really, and so I believe that I want to have something to prove. If that's the right word. No, I wanted to, just like I said, I wanted to let people know it's never too late. But what I realized is I wanted to show everybody out there, however that works. Really, I want to show me.
Yes.
I realized all of a sudden that's the piece of the puzzle that's been missing. It's about me. I want to do it for me. The other night I had a conversation with somebody and they're waiting for me to take the action that I keep talking about. Right?
Yeah.
And so that is my next step. And I'm excited about it because, I mean, you're privy to a lot of information on me that I'm looking at all kinds of different things moving forward.
You do have a lot of things moving forward, yeah.
And putting myself out there more and being a little bit more exposed on social media was difficult at first because not everybody's going to like you and not everybody does. But we're validation. And I look at Facebook and there's those people that selfie. And then they have love. Oh, you're so sexy. You're this, you're that. That's why they're on there all the time showing those pictures. Yeah. Because they don't have it inside.
Totally.
Right? And so, but we're so geared up to or seeing that as being valid. And I did a post a year ago about something. And, I had lots of positives. I had one negative. And I was at first devastated because that's all I could see was the one friggin' negative.
Yeah.
Rather than looking at the positive, there was way more positive. And then itty bitty tiny bit of negative, but oh no, And a lot of us quit then. Oh, well, I'm not going to do that because it just felt terrible. And really, you need to push yourself over that top, because really, either or, whether someone thinks you're fabulous or whether someone thinks you're an idiot, is their opinion anyway. It has nothing to do with you. The opinion that counts is the opinion you have on yourself, or you have with yourself. That is really hard to totally own. It's easy to talk about, you can philosophize about it, but I even, like at times I have to give myself a good kick. Well, and then I have you there.
And I give a good gentle kick.
Yes. Yeah. So that's works out great.
Yeah. Nice. And so I guess I've wondered, have you ever thought about, honestly, what you think it would have been like if you did come out back when you were, in your 20s or 30s? Would you feel like, because you said that, you have a more positive outlook. There are a lot of people who in some of the circles who are feeling negative because of the hurt that they've had. Do you feel like if you'd come out earlier, you would have experienced more pain, more hurt, more XYZ? Or do you think you would have experienced more self-love, more self-pride, and feeling a little bit more of Rock and Ronnie? And you obviously you'd have a different life, but what do you think about that?
Okay. To be honest, that's a really tough one to answer because you're at the other side and it's easy to speculate. One of the things that was, bless her heart, my ex was not the best partner to sort of encourage me to be more, because I think at the heart of everything, she was afraid of encouraging me to be more, and I would not be there because she knew, right? And so I think that was, I partnered with someone that held me back purposely. I also think, look at the time, look how old I am. What did we go through in the 80s? Who knows if I'd have made it through that?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, a friend of mine who I worked with forever, who was gay, and I had always known about. I told him, and he knew when we used to discuss things, and he said, "Thank God you didn't come out younger, because you wouldn't be here." He says, "I know you, Ron," and I think kind of that's the kind of person I am. Sad as it is, I mean, that was my journey.
Totally.
Oh my God! When 5 years ago or 5.5 years ago, I went to a play at the Belfry, and it was basically a documentary done by 3 young guys in their 30s, all gay, from different heritage, different background. They're all Canadian, but from one Ukrainian background, one Australian, and one European. And so then each one would take the stage, they would rotate, and sort of, how that works, so they play off each other. Anyways, one of them put the AIDS virus on stage. And the AIDS virus said, well, what does it matter? I mean, it has an effect, it doesn't affect your life. And they said, I have no mentors. I have there was a whole generation of men that aren't there anymore and I realized how much of the kind of person I am. I've spent 5.5 years really looking at the history of my culture, let's say, of who I am, and realizing that when I was living a straight life, I wasn't paying attention to that part. So I don't know how that would have influenced me, politically thinking, all the rest of it. I can't imagine not having my daughter and having my grandchildren. That has impacted me, because the one thing that I have that it's unconditional love. Right? And a belonging, a connection with other human beings in a way that only you can have as a father, as a family person, and that has impacted me hugely. I mean, I've been a grandfather since I was 42 years old.
Yeah.
Right? And so my oldest grandson is 29. So, that's 30 years. So all those experiences change you. And I am a family guy. I love kids and I love all that stuff, right? And so it was a perfect fit for me. Well, I'm the earth mother. I have those traits. Like I love to cook. I love to nurture. I love to take care of a home. Working outside's never been my thing.
Me neither. Don't want to get these things.
I know. Exactly. And so, again, that was my journey. That was what made it so difficult because I couldn't hide it. My interests. I mean, there I am as a teenager. What do I want to do? I'm doing everybody's hair. I'm designing and making clothes for Barbie dolls. I couldn't have been more than 9 years old when I started sewing. Yeah. I was 6'4", like I said, at 13. So of course I was making my pants wider, longer because we were wearing platform shoes and they didn't fit. And then I was making my mom outfits and my sister outfits. Hello, if you looked in the dictionary, right, and you saw the word gay, you might see my picture.
Why?
Right. And so I think my family sighed a relief when I got married. Or when I, it was like, oh my God, thank goodness. Particularly my dad, because I don't think he knew how to handle it. But at the same time, I think in the end, particularly later on in life, he would have accepted things really, really well. But that was kept me in check, worrying what other people were going to think, how it's going to be judged, where, would they like me, I'd be accepted in the family. It kept me in the closet a long time until I could work through all that stuff. And then once I worked through all that stuff, I really didn't care what they thought, and I get to be me. And you know what? Even when I went to my doctor about 6 or 7 months after I came out, and I'm going in for a checkup or whatever, he says to me, wow, you look great. He goes, you're happy, aren't you? You're really happy. I said, yes, right? It's like, I think that part's been great because I appreciate it so much. It's never too late.
Never, ever is.
No, and I think to think that's crazy. I was in England with a friend for my 65th birthday. I went and saw Adele on my 65th birthday. And he had some friends there, and it was a gay guy, a straight woman, a gay guy that traveled a lot. She was 80, he was 66, I was 65. And so he shares his experience. Well, in England, it was different, but it was a criminal offense. You could be jailed. And that's how he felt about it. He ended up 4 years or 5 years, he ended up with a dancer that came from Alberta, no less. And that was the highlight of his life. And now he's too old and it's over. And he travels with his girlfriend and they have fun. And so then he's talking to me. And I'm all excited and I've just come out at 63. And there I am. And all of a sudden he realizes that I am a year younger than him. When I got up to leave, he stood up and threw his arms around me and started to cry and said, I've learned so much from you today. Thank you, Ron.
Beautiful.
That's the person I want to be. You don't have to be gay to live the life that you want. That you aren't going to let society tell you you have to do things in a certain way. It's not easy, but it's worth it.
Anyways,
yeah. Well, don't you feel wonderful now that you've decided, you've made a plan? That was very inspiring for me. Your story. Why are you my coach? That's one of the reasons. You want to know that someone has done that. You went against the odds, so to speak. You broke free. You made a decision. You're moving forward. You're doing it. I mean, it's not easy. And that's something that other people should really admire. And that's something that all of us can do.
That's so very, very true. And that's kind of why I asked the question about whether you looked back and what would it have been like, because I want people to realize that you cannot change anything that's happened in the past, but you can also change the way you think about a story, because certain stories will play into certain narratives. And if you allow that to happen, your life will go in a certain way because of the way that your thought patterns are. So when you can come out or change it, like 63 years old, that was the perfect time for you, right? if you'd done it 20, 30, 40 years ago, you wouldn't be staying here, you wouldn't have your daughter, you wouldn't have these things. So everything happens in the right order in your life, and it comes when you're ready. And so I want those people out here who maybe like you, Ron, who are probably could be in their 50s, 60s, have or have not come out, to know that it's the perfect time. And if they choose to do it now, it's the right time for them, and not to look back going, I wish I'd done that before, because there's no point looking backwards on something unless it's, you know, to bring you joy to move forward and making your plan to move forward. Maybe you need, some of these people out there need to make a plan to come out. Maybe that's what they need to do, because, you know, like you said, you were able to do it, and it sounds like it's worked really well. Of course, there's probably been ups and downs with certain relationships, but you've come out the other end, fully fledged, proud person, now moving forward at 69, really feeling like life's in front of you and not behind you. And that's what's the most inspiring part about you, I think, Ronnie.
Thank you. Well, what really changed for me happened probably when I was 50. I participated in a, it was through my networking company, a weekend. Anyways, I won't go there, but what it taught me about myself was I identified that little gay boy in me. And I went, oh my goodness, I buried that little boy. I want to own that little, like be part of that little boy. But what I realized, what really affected me, I was reading the book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And in it, he has an exercise where you listen to your self-talks. Because we treat other people way better than we treat ourselves. We say, our mind, we beat ourselves up constantly. At least most people do, I think. Mm-hmm. And so he said, listen to that voice. So I'm listening. And then he says in the book, something to the effect of, is that you? Well, of course it's me. I'm listening to myself. And he goes, if it's you, who's listening? And it was like, I was just like, what? Oh my goodness. So I now envision that voice as more a conditioned person that I've become. And I had to go back and listen. And so there's that part. The other part was, there was a lot of negative there. And you go down that bunny trail and you pick one negative thing, or somebody thinks that, or you get upset, and it just goes and goes and goes. So I loved my grandson. And whenever I'd have a negative thought, I picture him in my mind. Well, I'd automatically smile and I'd quit. And that's what I did until now, which I don't know when it changed, but now that happens so seldom. I can switch like that. I can turn on the dime when I realize that I'm negative talking. It's a skill. It's a skill. You can learn those things. People that say, oh, well, no, I'm just like that. No, you have the ultimate control. But it takes work and it's not easy.
But it's worth it in the end, right?
Exactly. So, I've learned so much from other people because I paid attention and I wanted to grow and change. And I never want to be someone that is afraid of change. It's not easy. We don't like change, but sometimes you just have to figure it out and move forward. And actually, I've had the biggest ahas doing that. Once I've worked through the pain or whatever you want to call it, of dealing with that change and changing my mind around something and allowing it. I was born in the 50s, raised in the 60s, so sometimes I'm old-fashioned. Oh my God. Even I'm surprised.
Yeah. And so from that then you said you've had a lot of aha moments. What would you say, if you can think of it, if it's easy to come to you, is the biggest life lesson that you would like to maybe share with some of our viewers here today?
Well, I think it's sort of the theme of my conversation. It's never too late to be authentic, to be yourself. Don't hold yourself back. Don't think that you're too old. And when you're young, you have all the time in the world, but don't be afraid. We allow or the thought of judgment from other people to hold us back from being ourselves. Yeah, most people don't care. And the few people that speak out You don't need them in your life anyway, if they're going to be like that. So sort of two ends of the stick. And it was those judgments that kept me where I was. It was accepting myself and loving myself that allowed me to be free. But all that took work on the negative thoughts I had in my head towards myself. And I had to overcome that. And I had to learn skills and techniques to do it. And it's funny, my youngest brother said, well, it's easy for you. Creepers. I could just like shake them like easy. Oh, no, it's not, honey. It was never easy. But to me, there was no option. I was going to do it. Life is worth living, right?
Certainly is. Totally is. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Rock and Ronnie. I really appreciate this message that you're sharing today, and what a beautiful, inspiring story you've had. And I just feel like, I know that there's so much more in you. And like you said, it's never too late. 69 is where you're at, but you feel like there's plenty more life in you. And I'm excited to see how that unfolds. So thank you again for being here today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. And we'll catch you next time.